am mom to my son, Holden. We were first-time parents, and for the first 2 or 3 years of his life, it seemed perfectly normal and fine. Nothing was seeming amiss, which was interesting because I started to see the really strange phenomenon that our younger son could easily outrun our older son. We did take him into pediatric visits and talked to our providers, and a couple times, we were assured, every child develops differently. He was 6 years old, again, back to just a routine, regular checkup with a new pediatrician. And she was just physically looking at his body and could tell and noticed that he had really enlarged calves. We were recommended to visit a pediatric neuromuscular specialist. They told us right away, we do think he has muscular dystrophy. Within a couple weeks, the testing center confirmed he did in fact have Duchenne. It's just a real shock to your system. I think that day we did receive the diagnosis. That was the first day we were linked up into Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy, actually.
Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy's mission is to end Duchenne muscular dystrophy. We do this by taking a comprehensive approach through research, advocacy, care, and education. In 2014, we had a few trials that were coming on board and that the FDA was reviewing for the first therapies in Duchenne muscular dystrophy. We saw variability in how the trials were being run, how the companies were accessing information, and we actually requested to the FDA, could you do a guidance on Duchenne muscular dystrophy to give a roadmap to companies? And the response was, well, we don't have the resources to do a guidance for all rare diseases. However, why don't you submit a draft guidance to the FDA to consider that we can then take that information and then create our own guidance for companies from our viewpoint, our current thinking. That put us on our path to develop the first ever community-led guidance for the FDA. The process for developing that document involved well over 90 stakeholders in the clinical research, drug development communities. And then, of course, patients were at the table and a community advisory board to oversee the process. The end goal was provide a roadmap for companies developing therapies in our disease. We felt, well, if you provide them with a document of the current thinking on a range of topics, natural history, biomarkers, patient preferences, clinical trial design, this would give incentive for companies. And it did. Our landscape shifted. More companies came into the space because they had that knowledge at hand. So because of that, a lot has changed in 2014. We now have 5 approvals in Duchenne, and the time is now for us to update that guidance document.
The particular component I'm involved in as a parent and also as a person with some specialized professional skills in the patient experience area is helping the FDA and industry understand how patient feedback should be integrated into drug development guidance. We're desperate for drugs to be developed, but at the same time, patients need to be informed on trial designs, the risk benefits, and how their disease could ultimately be impacted.
When I meet these families, they become part of my extended family. And when I could provide them with a tool to make them feel a bit more empowered and see that, to me, that's the most satisfying part of my job.
We're experts in our own disease, so it's critical for us to be at the table to share what's really meaningful for patients.